Hey everyone, it's Leandra here with Caramel Moon, and we are coming to you live from the Kentucky facility here at New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program. And Caramel Moon, or Cara, as we call her, is available for adoption right now. So if you go to our website, newvocations.org, you can see her profile there. But today she's going to help me out, and we're going to go about some of the techniques that we use to try to work on responsiveness with some of our horses. So Caramel Moon here was actually adopted before and came back after the adopter was having some issues with her that seemed to be sourced from bracing. So she would brace against whether it was the adopter or the trainer, against the rider. She would brace against them, and then she would, I'm assuming, feel trapped because they said that she would rear. So you can see sort of an obvious behavioral issue there. And the feedback that I got was that she wasn't able to bend, and that she was just in this sort of nervous mindset, so she wasn't really being in a particularly partnership state of mind with being ridden. You can see Cara is decently relaxed right now, and even when we had her before, she's a little bit more of an antsy type, and that some of the horses will just have a little bit more of that nervous energy for whatever reason. But she will, for example, weave at the gate when she's ready to come in, but then she'll feel very relaxed other times here. So it's all a process, but let's talk about responsiveness. So we're talking about bracing, and that's bracing against the rider's hand. It can also be bracing against any sort of contact of your legs or other sorts. And what I like to go back to, it's a really simple tool, obviously, because you can work on it with any horse, is learning to stop and back up your horse. It's pretty simple. Kara's really interested in the camera right now. She's a very sweet horse. She's trying to love on Erica, who's filming. But Cara here, we worked on backing up and just that simple ask. And what's really important is that you're not asking for perfection. The moment that you feel a horse respond to your ask, whether it's with your leg, with your hand, if you're trying to work on something and they're struggling with it, you're going to look for that low-hanging fruit. So we're going to circle around, and I'll just kind of show you at the walk first. All right, so I'm going to ask with as little as I can at first. So that's going to start with my seat. I'm actually going to close my legs while I'm doing it, which might not be entirely intuitive, but I'll just sit back a little bit and she stops, which is wonderful. But I want to make sure we're also engaging the front end. And we've worked on this so she kind of gets it. So I will, when we stop, also close my leg, sit back a little bit, squeeze the reins like you would a sponge. That's a squeeze and release. So there's no need for her to brace. And then the moment that she steps back, I'm going to give, and we'll walk off. That seems like a really simple exercise, but a lot of people skip that. So the same sort of thing, I'm just going to squeeze like I would a sponge. I'm asking, using a little bit more, asking, perfect. So I want to make sure we're bringing it all together. But that is allowing her to get that mentality of, one, engaging her hind end when we stop because we're backing up, and then two, we're getting in that mindset of giving with the reins, and that all starts those really simple steps. But what has then transpired from that is Cara has built her top line. She has a much more relaxed disposition, her head carriage. So we're actually going to trot off here in a second. I'll come back, we'll stop, we'll back up. And then one of the things that I really like to do is pop them right back up into a trot, which will help your horse with impulsiveness, responsiveness, and again, you're going to be engaging that hind end, which is going to get them in, like I said before, one, the mindset of knowing that when we stop, we also back up. So they know that's going to be an ask, so they're already sort of cognizant of shifting their weight backwards, but then also the impulsiveness of the push off is going to help develop that hind end, which then helps them to create that more well-rounded carriage. It's going to help their top line. It's going to help them come off their forehand, which is a really common problem. You know, not such a problem, but just something that we deal with trying to develop a more balanced horse, of horses who have raced, who are used to leaning more in their forehand, or just a horse who's out of shape. They naturally carry more weight, more pressure in their front end. So this is about creating a more balanced and a more fit horse all around. So she just wants to go hang out with Erica. So let's start off. That actually is a great example because there are a couple different things to maybe note here, and hopefully you can see it. One, Kara still has, like I said, it's a work in progress, an instinct of carrying her head up. There's a little bit of the bracing still, but you can also see how quickly she can work out of it and become soft. And it's just something that is something that takes time, but she's obviously making progress in that and becoming more relaxed. It's becoming more natural. But even when I ask her to stop, she has this moment where you can feel a pressure against the bit, and I use the same squeeze and release, and then she gives and I give, and that the timing is very important. You want to make sure there's as very little lag as possible of that release, which helps them to understand the ask and the reward of the release. And then we move right off and make sure that we're really, again, asking for that push off, which is going to engage her hind end and really expedite the whole process. It's a positive feedback to all the other things we're trying to work on. And then just make that routine. So when you're asking a horse to stop, you just also, if even as brief as that, ask him to stop, ask for that back up, give, and then walk right off. And you will, I'm sure, if you use these tools consistently, see a change in your horse, but it's such an easy tool. Stopping, backing up, asking them to go off. Transitions in general are great, but a lot of people just overlook that because it's so simple. But if you can get a horse to stop and back up, push off, then it's going to help everything else. But similarly, it's worth noting that if you have a horse who you would consider pretty advanced, but they cannot do that, then you are probably lacking in an area of your horse's training that could use tremendous benefit, and it's such a simple tool. So just consider maybe how much better it could be if you had that sort of contact. That might just be the missing piece. But thank you so much for joining us today on this Trainer Tip Tuesday, where we're working on our horse's sensitivity and working on impulsion and working on responsiveness overall, and how that's going to be able to hopefully help you and your horse in this whole process. So check out Caramel Moon's profile on our website, newvocations.org. And again, thank you so much for joining us today on this Trainer Tip Tuesday.